Jesse Livermore, the Boy Plunger, the Great Bear of Wall Street, a man who, with nothing but a pencil, a notepad, and an almost supernatural feel for the market's pulse, turned a few dollars into a fortune that would be worth billions today. He was a ghost from a bygone era of ticker tape and chalkboards, a time before fiber optics and high-frequency trading. And the ultimate question forms in your mind, a question that tests the very nature of trading itself. Could he do it today? If you were to resurrect Jesse Livermore and sit him in front of your multi-monitor setup, with its fire hose of real-time data and algorithmic bots, would he beat this modern market? Or would the sheer velocity and complexity of it all break him, proving that his genius was a product of a simpler time? To answer this, you must first understand that Livermore was not trading stocks, he was trading human nature. He believed the market was a grand, unfolding story of greed, fear, hope, and ignorance. He said that while the players and the stage change, the play remains the same. The first thing he would tell you is to ignore the noise. He would look at the cacophony of your news feeds and financial television and see it for what it is, a giant machine designed to make you emotional, to make you act rashly, to separate you from your money. He would see your desire for constant action, your need to be in a trade every single day, as a fundamental weakness. You feel you must be busy to be productive, but Livermore mastered the art of sitting. He made his real money not from frantic buying and selling, but from assessing the overall market trend and having the patience to hold a position through its major swing. He would tell you that you are fighting for pennies in the daily chop while the life-changing money is waiting patiently in the heart of the trend. You are taught to diversify, to spread your risk across dozens of positions you barely understand. Livermore would call this an act of ignorance. He believed in concentration, in knowing your few positions so intimately that you could feel their every breath. He would advise you to put your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket with the intensity of a hawk. Your modern portfolio theory would seem to him like an admission that you have no real conviction in anything you own. His most powerful weapon, and the one most relevant to your trading today, was his relentless self-mastery. You are consumed by hope when a trade goes your way, praying it will run forever. You are paralyzed by fear when it goes against you, holding on and praying for a return to break even. Livermore saw these two emotions as your mortal enemies. He sought to trade without hope and without fear, acting instead on cold, hard analysis of the tape. He would tell you that the market doesn't care about what you want, it will do what it is going to do. But here is where the argument turns. Here is where you must play devil's advocate against the legend. You look at the market's microstructure, and you see the first great challenge for Livermore: the speed. His tape reading was based on observing the flow of orders and volume at a human pace. Today, that tape screams by in microseconds, driven by algorithms co-located next to the exchange's servers. They would see his large order coming in front run him in the blink of an eye, the very patterns he sought to exploit being used against him. You must then consider the fragmentation of the market. Livermore watched a centralized tape on the New York Stock Exchange. Today, you trade across a dozen public exchanges and dozens more dark pools, private trading venues where massive institutional orders are executed in secret. He could no longer be sure he was seeing the whole picture. Reading the tape becomes infinitely harder when a huge portion of the book is intentionally hidden from your view. The transparency he relied upon has been deliberately obscured. And then there is the sheer volume of information, a challenge you know all too well. Livermore had the ticker, newspapers, and his network of contacts. You have a global 24/7 fire hose of data, analysis, rumors, and outright lies streaming into your devices. His principle was to listen only to the market itself. But today, the market's own behavior is influenced in real time by this flood of information. A single tweet from a prominent figure can rewrite a trend in seconds, something for which his system had no precedent. You would have to concede that the Livermore of 1929 would fail, and fail spectacularly. He would be a whale in a sea of piranhas, his large, deliberate moves detected and dismantled by faster, more agile predators. He would be playing checkers while the rest of the world was playing a multi-dimensional form of chess at the speed of light. To believe otherwise is to fall for pure romanticism. It is to ignore the fundamental evolution of the arena itself. However, this is where you misunderstand the core of his genius. You assume he would play the old game in a new arena. The true genius of Livermore was not his system, but his ability to adapt. He went broke multiple times and clawed his way back, each time with a new set of rules forged in the fires of his failure. He would not fight the algorithms. He would study them. He would treat high-frequency trading as the new market manipulator, the new insider whose behavior must be deciphered. He would quickly realize that the game is no longer just reading the intentions of other human traders. The game is now about understanding the predictable behaviors of the algorithms that now account for the majority of trading volume. He would look for their fingerprints, for the patterns they create in their relentless quest for liquidity and arbitrage. He would adapt his pivotal points to be not just psychological levels, but levels where major algorithmic strategies are likely to trigger. He would use the very technology that seems so daunting to his advantage. You use technology to get more opinions, more indicators, more noise. Livermore would use it to filter the noise. He would likely commission his own custom software, not to predict the future, but to reveal the present more clearly, to consolidate the fragmented market data, to track the flow of large orders across dark pools, to measure the sentiment of the digital crowd in real time. He would weaponize the information overload against itself. You might find him moving away from the day-to-day battle of individual stocks. He might conclude that this arena is too rife with algorithmic manipulation for a human discretionary trader to find a consistent edge. Instead, you might see him focusing on the larger macro trends: commodities, currencies, and global indices. In these vast, deep markets, the bigger picture of human fear and greed still dominates, and the swings are large enough to absorb the noise of the machines. He would look at the rise of meme stocks and retail trader armies not with disdain, but with intense curiosity. He would see it as a raw, unfiltered expression of human greed, a modern version of the speculative manias he witnessed a century ago. He would not join them, but he would learn to anticipate their movements, understanding that this new, powerful force could be traded against or alongside, just like any other market participant. You are told to trust the quants, the PhD physicists who build the trading models. Livermore would be deeply suspicious of them. He believed that the market was not a problem of pure mathematics, but of psychology. He knew that any model based on past performance would eventually fail when confronted with a black swan event, something that had never happened before. His edge was in his flexible, intuitive mind, not in a rigid, back-tested formula. You believe the market is more efficient today. Livermore would argue it is just more complex. He would contend that the same inefficiencies exist, but they are hidden under layers of technology. The human emotions that drove the market in 1907 are the very same emotions that drive it today. Fear of missing out, panic selling, irrational exuberance — these are not qualities that can be programmed out of the human psyche, and as long as humans are involved, the market will have a heartbeat he can read. The algorithms, you must remember, are ultimately designed by humans. They are coded with the biases and assumptions of their creators. They are built to exploit the predictable emotional reactions of human market participants. In a strange way, by studying the behavior of the algos, Livermore would simply be studying a purer, more distilled version of human greed and fear, reflected back in trillions of lines of code. You are constantly searching for a holy grail, a perfect indicator that will give you a buy or sell signal. Livermore would tell you no such thing exists. His method was a synthesis of price action, volume, timing, and an overarching assessment of the general trend. It was discretionary, it was fluid, and it required immense mental effort. He would not offer you a simple solution. He would demand that you do the hard work of thinking for yourself. He would see that your biggest weakness is your short attention span, a condition created and exploited by the modern digital world. You want instant results, instant profits. His entire philosophy was built on the virtue of patience. He would wait days, weeks, or even months for the perfect setup, the line of least resistance, to become clear. He would tell you that the money you lose from impatience is far greater than any trading commissions you will ever pay. You are part of a herd, whether you admit it or not. You follow the same financial news, use the same indicators, and feel the same FOMO when a stock takes off without you. Livermore was a supreme individualist, a lone wolf. He understood that the only way to beat the crowd is to stand apart from it. He would find your social media trading groups to be echo chambers designed to reinforce popular delusions right at the top of a market move. So, what is the final verdict? You must conclude that a resurrected Livermore, armed with his timeless principles and an adaptive mind, would not just survive, he would thrive. He would not play your game. He would create his own, using the modern market's complexity as a new set of clues. He would see the algorithms as the new insiders, the new composite man whose behavior could be studied and exploited. He would likely become a macro trader, a speculator on the grandest scale. He would use technology as a filter, not a guide. He would see the 24/7 news cycle not as a source of information, but as a sentiment indicator to be faded. He would stand apart, a quiet, patient predator, waiting for the herd, both human and algorithmic, to make its inevitable emotional mistake. You must realize that his true secret was not a system for reading the tape, but a system for reading himself. He was engaged in a lifelong battle against his own ego, his own hope, and his own fear. This is the part of his legacy that is most accessible to you. You cannot trade like him, but you can learn to think like him. You can learn to question your every impulse. The market today is faster, more complex, and more dangerous than the one he knew. But the human heart that beats at its center is unchanged. It is still driven by the same primal forces. Livermore understood this better than anyone. He knew that as long as people were afraid of losing money and greedy for more, there would be opportunities for the disciplined and patient speculator to profit from their predictable folly. He would tell you to stop looking for tips and start looking inward. He would tell you that the stock market is never obvious. It is designed to fool most of the people, most of the time. Your job is not to predict, but to react, to identify the prevailing trend and ride it, to cut your losses without hesitation, and to have the courage to let your winners run. You must accept that he would see the modern market not as an unbeatable monster, but as the ultimate puzzle. His curiosity and his ego would compel him to solve it. He would learn the language of the algorithms, the rhythm of the dark pools, and the sentiment of the digital swarm. He would find the new line of least resistance. And finally, you must understand the most crucial lesson. The question is not, would Livermore beat today's market? The real question you should be asking yourself every single day is, can I beat my own human nature? If you can answer that, you have found the only holy grail that has ever truly existed.